Good afternoon, guys. I'm Chris, and welcome back to this Wednesday's episode of Rift Amps. So Ollie has collected his Drip Edge Dual Showman and has taken that back. He's going to do a demo for us, so look out for that on the channel. Really cool sounding amplifier. Anyway, unfortunately, his Holy Grail amp, his dream amp, his top amp, his most prized possession is this Drip Edge Vibrolux Reverb. Someone asked in the comment section what we mean when we talk about Drip Edge. It's simply the very first silver plate amplifiers that have got this aluminium frame running around the grill cloth, and quite often that is accompanied by these black lines on the faceplate, which were in fact a printing error. So when we talk about Drip Edge, we're talking about the very first silver panel amps, which 99% of the time will actually be the black panel circuit inside. What's wrong with this one? The lights are on, but nobody is home. Quite unfortunate. So we need to get this thing sorted. When it's working, it is a sweet sounding amplifier, and it's in lovely condition. And this grill cloth has aged wonderfully. I love it when the silver panel cloth, and you can tell it's silver panel because it's either got this blue stripe in, and the latest stuff has an orange stripe compared to the earlier black panel cloth. It's really nice. Anyway, it's aged wonderfully. It's looking great. He wants to protect this at all costs, so you've got to be super careful. He's actually running in the back the Eminence Alessandro GA10 SC64s. Apologise. Now, I go back and forth on these speakers. In some amps, I think they work really well, and in other amps, I don't think they do. My ears seem to prefer the 10-inch version over the 12-inch. So I was thinking about putting some of these in my ultralinear Super Reverb when I finally do that resurrection. Maybe two of those paired with some Alnicos. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, this amp turns on, but there's no output, there's no sound. Whether we can hear hiss or whether we can hear hum, I don't know yet. I've not plugged this in. I've not listened to it. I've just brought it up on the bench, put it on the Lazy Susan, and started filming this section. So let's start with the basics then. Let's plug this thing in, turn it on, see if it makes any noises whatsoever. Right, I've popped another microphone up against the speaker just so you can hear what's going on. This is an export amp, so it's got a voltage selector on the back. We'll just plug it in and we'll turn it on. Okay, dual light has come on. Hopefully you can all see that. I can hear transformer hum. What's that? Strange popping sound. My rectifier is lit. My output valves are lit as well, so they've got heater voltage. What's that strange popping noise? Okay, so we'll start with this channel. Volume. Nothing there. This channel. Oh, it just popped in then. Did you hear that? This channel as well. So both channels were dead, and then something popped and it kicked in. And now we have output. Reverb. It's a bit scratchy. Tremolo won't work without the foot switch. So it was dead then, and then it kicked back in. So let's just wiggle some valves. So I'm just wobbling the phase inverter there. In fact, if I spin you around, I'll show you. Just pull this panel off. It was definitely dead then, and now it's kicked back in. This particular one, by the way, is serial number A12237. Okay, a couple of cobwebs. So, phase inverter. So that's my reverb drive. Something going on there. V2, which is the second channel, first two stages. I've got the volume up full, so it's going to be quite sensitive. And V1. Definitely going on something with V3. If I turn the volumes down on channel 1 and channel 2, okay, so it definitely wasn't working, but now it is. Let's pull the chassis and give it a visual inspection, because we've got some intermittent bits and pieces going on here that I don't like. I'm not happy with what's going on with V3. V2 socket's noisy, V1 socket is noisy, and we're definitely picking up some weird noises and things. Speaker connections. Soldering doesn't look great, sorry Ollie, but I've seen worse. Okay. Amp off. So this is probably one of the only amps that Ollie owns that I've yet to touch and work on. So I don't know really anything about this particular amp. I don't know the condition of its inside. I don't know if it's had a recap. I don't know what the score is with this particular amplifier. I don't even know who serviced it last. Okay then. Right, apologies if you can hear a hum in the background. It's quite cold in the workshop today, so I've actually got the heating on. So there is a slight hum coming from the heater. The microphone shouldn't pick it up, but sometimes it does. Some of you complained about it before. I'm not going to do anything about it. You'll just have to deal with it. Right, anyway. Silver panel, Vibrolux reverbs, first introduced in, as far as the Bible says, 1968. And 68 and 69 were the drip edge versions, and then from 70 onwards were the later style. So let's see what this particular one is. We're expecting it to be a 68 or a 69. So let's start with the transformers, shall we? If we look at this output transformer up here, zoom you right down, you can see, once the camera stops shaking, we are 20th week of 1968. We'll come over and look at the reverb transformer. Quite difficult to read on that one. 38th week of 68. 606 means it's a Schumacher. We come over, we look at the choke. The choke, very difficult to read that choke, actually it's quite dirty, but it's the 25th week of 1968. And finally, power transformer over here, hopefully that's coming across, 606 Schumacher, 46th week of 1968. So this is most likely a late 68 or an early 69. When we get inside, we'll be able to look at the technician stamp. But whilst we've got this thing on the outside, shall we have a quick look under the doghouse, see If the filter caps have been changed, what we're working with okay, place your bets now. Have we got the original caps inside? And if not, they've been replaced. And have they been replaced with high quality capacitors? Have the dropping resistors been done? Or has someone cheaped out and used some cheapies? Place your bets. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic news. So a quintet, if it's 5 of them. I haven't discharged this yet, so I need to be careful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 22 microfarads. The droppers have been 2 10Ks there. 10Ks right? I'll have to look at the schematic. The quality of the work. God damn it. Somebody's paid money for this. Somebody has paid money for that. You see that missing solder joint there? Right, let me just discharge cable on this end. Not soldered. I mean, you see that? I'm not making it up. Wasn't even soldered in place. Just hanging out in there. I was about to say all the solder joints look pretty good. Well, okay, not a problem. We can fix that. If someone is writing the valve positions on an amplifier, you hope that's the player and not the tech, right? The rest of the solder joints appear to be all right. I bet once we fix that, it'll all come back to life and all the problems will be sorted. Right, we'll pop that valve back in. Right, so now I can't trust any of the other work that's been done in this amplifier. Let's spin it over. I don't get it. I just don't get it, right? Vintage amplifiers need to be treated with respect. And I'm not getting on my high horse just for YouTube views, right? It's not what I'm doing here. I'm telling you, people need to respect these amplifiers more than they are. Okay, so what have we got? If we start up at the preamp end, we've got a mixture of the brown turds. Somebody's done the board electrolytics here, but they haven't used axials, they've used radials, which is just lazy, man. If you're an amp tech, you're going to have 2525s in stock that are axial. It's Amp Repair 101. You always stock them. They're readily available. They are cheap. They are affordable. And whoever does this stuff, and like it's a waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Come over here. They've done the same here. So those have been done. Got some orange drops that have been replaced. Okay, fair enough. Not a problem. But then over here, they did put some nice high quality 2525s in. What? And the same over here. Look, there's one there. Got a blue molded here. I can't remember. Sorry, that should be original. But then we've got different brown turds as your output valve coupling caps. What's going on? Now, these look new. So these are being replaced. Have these been replaced as well? And the blue molded cap stolen? Not unheard of. The 3 caps in the tremolo circuit have been replaced with orange drops, the ceramic discs. Okay, fine. I just don't get it. Have some respect for the amplifiers. Even if it is a silver panel amp. Still have some respect, man. Come on. It gets worse. Output valve sockets. Okay. The screen stoppers have been replaced, the 470 ohms. But, you know, stick them in opposite directions. Why not? The 1K5s haven't been done, and they are looking incredibly toasty, especially this one down here. Can I get you a better shot of it? The one that's in here looks like it's been on the barbecue. You see that? And then look at the cathodes, the way they've grounded the cathode. Look at that solder joint to the chassis there. Somebody just didn't have a powerful enough soldering iron. This one as well. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely useless. You would argue whether this is all pro-level repair or whether it's just hobbyist. I can't believe somebody's charged for that. What they have done, however, is they've rewritten on the original tech code. So this was Technician 53, 50th week of 68. So it is a December amp. Very late. Very, very late. 68. Cool. All right. Bias cap's been done. Bias dropper's been done, but the original diode is in place. Oh, it looks like the 100 ohms have been done as well. So I suspect that, combined with the screen stoppers being done, it had an output valve short at some point. I can't leave this, because if I do, someone will think I've done that work. So I now need to go through and fix all those little issues, make the amp good. You know, Ollie is a pro musician. He's out there using this stuff out on the road. It has to be good. It has to be right. So I now need to go through and do all these small issues. So we know the amp is reliable. The amp deserves better. Right, so whilst we're fixing the Vibrolux and doing all of the remedial work on it, should we do the Q&A? Before we start, however, I'll just bring up on the screen now a close-up of the missing solder on this eyelet here. Now, the component leg was in the hole, so it was touching, but obviously it's not soldered in place, and obviously I just pulled it out of the way. Now, this is just, the eyelet is just a termination point, right? There's an underboard wire that goes over to this ground here, this point here, negative end of this cap. Both of these caps are in parallel for B+1, so it's your first filter node. But obviously this black wire, this is the important one, because that grounds this to chassis. And as you can see, not connected at all. So, not good enough. Now, I've just spoken to Ollie, and I know he's told me who the tech was that did this. And I'm surprised. I'm really surprised, because that tech, that is I'm not going to name them, but that tech is known for doing really high quality work. So perhaps this is a one-off. Maybe the other work inside wasn't him, I don't know, but this recap was done by him. Now, I've just checked the schematic, and this should have 16s throughout, and it's got 22s, which is surprising. And am I happy with the rest of these for the time being? I've just spotted something else. The board itself is loose. Right, so half a turn, 3/4 of a turn to get that snug, almost a full turn on that one, and this one up here, half a turn and 1 full turn to get that snug. That's better. It's the basics. It's the fundamental basics of good amp repair and service. People charge money for this, and I don't get it. Because you always get found out. You always get found out if you do a crap job. Excuse the language. Right, anyway. Get that out the way. That's that repair done, or that job done on this particular repair. Let's spin the chassis over. Let's do the Q&A. First video that we put out was, God, we've got loads, got absolutely loads to go through. Talking about I might not do all these in order, it's just the order that they're appearing in the comments section of my app. Jagstar channel member says on the 5E3 clone that's come in for some work, he said, what about replacing the plate resistors with metal film? I've always found that they help reduce hiss without affecting the tone of the amp. Your amps always look amazing. I really love the inset amp badge. Very classy. Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, most likely I will put some metal films in that particular amp rather than the carbon comps, but we'll see. The customer is happy for me to do whatever I want to do, whatever I need to do to get him the best sounding 5E3 that we can. So that's what we're going to do. His main concern, as I mentioned before, is hum. So that's going to be the thing that we're going to focus on mainly. We want this thing to be as hum-free as possible. Not this thing, but his amp. And then we can reduce or remove as much hiss as possible. That's only going to be a good thing. Absolutely no problem at all. Right, on with train wrecking part 4, which since that video I've actually made a lot of progress on that build. So there's going to be part 5 very, very, very soon, probably before the end of September. So look out for that. The Melter says, hi Chris, watching this video right now. Why wouldn't you make the HT fuse accessible from the outside of the chassis? Is that so that guitar players, including me, can't mess with that fuse? Yes and no. Some techs look at it from one way, some techs look at it from a different point of view. My argument and the way I like to do things is that fuses shouldn't just have nuisance blows. If a fuse has popped, there's got to be a reason for it. And so you shouldn't just fit a new fuse and send the amp. Now, there's no law that says HT fuses must be accessible from the outside of the amplifier, so we can ignore that. It's down to builder preference. The way I like to do them is if the HT fuse has blown, I want the customer to be absolutely sure and confident in the fact that it's blown because there was a problem with the amplifier and it wasn't just a power surge, it wasn't just whatever, a nuisance blow. So if that fuse has blown, it means there's definitely a fault with the amplifier and it should be checked by a professional. And so the way I rate the fuses, the way I position them in the circuit, ensures that that fuse will only blow if there's a fault in the amplifier and the fuse is blowing to protect the amplifier. And so that's why I put them on the inside. So if you turn your amp on and the lights come on but there's no sound, it means most likely the HT fuse is blown because it's detected a short downstream of it, there's too much current flowed through the fuse and it's blown to protect, right? And therefore you need to get that amp checked. It's probably going to be a set of output valves, but just in case it's something else, I want you to know that if that fuse is blown, it's because there's definitely a fault and it's not a nuisance blow. So that's the way I prefer to do it. Now you might argue, well, you should make it accessible for the player, maybe, but you know, we don't always put bias pots outside the amplifier for people who want to bias their own amplifier. Sometimes they're inside, and various other bits and pieces as well. So, but that's just the way I do it, the way I design them, the way I implement them, is that they will only ever blow if there's a fault, and there's not, you know, they're not marginally rated. They're happy to work with in rush currents and stuff like that. So you're not going to have a problem with it just popping when you turn the amp on or off. If it's popped, there's definitely a fault with the amplifier, and that's a sign for you to take it to a tech, whether it's me or somebody else, just to get it checked over and safe, because we must at all times protect your transformers. So that's the way I do it. Other techs have different views. There's no legal requirements one way or the other. You don't even need to have a HT fuse, but you should. As I said, my way of doing things is if you're going to have a HT fuse, you want to ensure that there's no chance of any nuisance blows, so you know that if it has popped, there is a fault and it needs to be checked properly. This is another PR6 build. This time it's going to be a brown panel. Not much difference between the two in terms of the power section. It's all in the preamp, and I use obviously there wasn't a brown panel Princeton Reverb. There was a brown panel Princeton, the 6G2, but different circuit. And so I actually used the preamp from a later brown panel amplifier that just merges perfectly into a Princeton Reverb circuit. So PR6 this time. Well, again, sorry. So just 6 watts output, not the 18. Chassis now populated, transformers, sockets. I haven't done the pots yet, but that's fine. And I've got my board mounts in, and I was just tweaking haven't finished doing the board yet, but I was just tweaking the holes to make sure we get a nice fitment. We are close. I think if I just enlarge my mounts, I do 3 more holes. If I enlarge them to 3.2, I mean, it goes in now, it's just quite a tight fit. So we just need to give ourselves a little bit more wiggle room. Although that's gone in quite nicely. Looks a bit like that. There you go. So not far off. No, a little bit far off. Not far off starting the chassis wiring. That's what I'm trying to say. So next job for me on this now, if I can get the board back out, is I need to swage my eyelets in. I still need to drill some 6mm holes for wire pass-throughs and bits and pieces. I can get that board populated, and then I can start the chassis wiring on this. I need to make my bias board up as well, get my pots in, do my back panel stuff. But this one is coming on. It's a brown panel build, and it's going into a brown cabinet. So this actually is another one for the lads up at Coda. So we're going to get this one done quite quickly and get it off to them so they can get it on the showroom floor. Gary Bertolo, sorry if I get that wrong, says, have you ever tried to build a similar amp to a Splawn or a Gabriel? No, I haven't. No, I don't think I've had any of those in the workshop for service or repair. So I'm afraid not. I don't know much about them. I live in the world of vintage amplifiers. I'm not interested in other stuff. I couldn't even tell you what those amps are. So no, I'm sorry that I haven't. Maybe I'll look into them. Maybe it's something for me to have a look and see what's going on. But yeah, sorry Gary, can't be much help on that. Vox Pathfinder 15R says, are the Panasonic polyester or polypropylene, and do you think it matters? They're polyester film. And do I think it matters? What, the material? We talked about this a lot on the channel, and my thoughts are this. Different materials are more susceptible to temperature and humidity changes, right? So there are some capacitors that are super stable in high temperature, high humidity environments, others less so. Just look at polystyrene capacitors. You can measure its capacitance, apply a heat gun to it, and you can watch its value change. The most important thing for me is the value. And this is what I say to people all the time. Stop messing around buying super expensive boutique caps that you most likely will mistake a change in capacitance value for a change in material value. So you might say, well, this cap sounded better than this one. One, because it was more expensive, and two, it's made from a different material. But maybe, and most likely, what you're actually hearing is simply just a change in the value of the cap. What I say to people is learn what happens when you change the value of the capacitor, material like for like. So if you go from a 22 to a 47 nanofarad, what does that do to the sound? Learn what those changes do first before you even get into material types. What we do know with material types is that, as I said, they do change with temperature and humidity. The capacitance will change in the circuit. And what I know is that the Panasonic types are super predictable in what they do, so I can produce a more consistent product every time. And that's why I go with it. So the Panasonics are the best for me and what I do, in my opinion. And the good thing is they are nicely affordable. Gem Tonkin 605 says 5E3 is so simple yet so difficult to get right at the same time. It's a classic case of less is more. You've got to focus on the details in those. A proper tone machine once it's nailed though. Sorry to hammer you with questions, I appreciate that you're busy. What is your opinion of 6BM8/ECL82 valves for lower powered stuff? Seems like a cool little valve, but hardly anyone seems to use them. Is there a reason? It's lack of availability of new ones. I can't use one because none of them are Rush compliant, so I can't use them in new production stuff. You've also got to think about servicing this stuff down the line. You know, if you build an amp with those valves in, you want to make it easy for the customer to go out and buy replacements of those from reputable suppliers. And that won't be the case with those. You've got to scour, you know, Marketplace and eBay and all those places to find what you hope is a good, strong replacement set. Yet with your classic stuff, 6V6, 6L6, EL84, they're readily available, new, tested, graded, and good to go with a warranty. So you kind of have to look at it from that point of view. But I don't build anything with that simply because I can't get any ones that are Rush compliant, so I can't use them in new builds. So they're just no good to me. And as you can see with my PR6, I can run a set of 6V6s in push-pull and get 6 watts clean output for the low wattage stuff. So why would I want to make it more complex and more difficult when there's an easy solution there that has the longevity over the lifetime of the amplifier? Craig Olmsted says, greetings from the great state of Maine. Long-time viewer, first-time poster. Well, you are more than welcome here. As someone who spent a lifetime rebuilding auto transmissions with all the little fun brain teasers they can provide, I find I enjoy watching other craftsmen at work diagnosing different kinds of riddles, and in a world of cheap and disposable everything, it's refreshing to see high-quality hand builds still being made. Thank you for the hours of interesting and informative content you provide. A 1 watt 5F6, that's Tweed Bassman circuit will be awesome for a small batch. The circuit that inspired the first Marshalls without all of the hearing loss. Or even a 1 watt JTM 45, the baby that the 5F6 birthed. I'll be all over one of those. That's most likely what I'm going to do. I think the next 1 watt limited run that I'm going to do, don't take this as an announcement, you lot, I know what you like, will probably be 1 watt JTM 45 or JTM 1, I guess you'd call it, with whatever would be required so you can run it as a 5F6 or to get the 5F6 sounds out of it. I know they're similar and I know there are differences, but if I can do that in one package, probably just with a valve swap and a voicing switch would get us there, so you can run it on one or the other. I think that would be a cool little amp. So perhaps, maybe, we'll see. I don't know yet, haven't decided, but I agree with you. I think that would be the nice next step in the 1 watt range, the 1 watt limited runs. Be a fun thing to do. Richard Halstead says on the 5E3 clone, hi Chris, fantastic video as usual. It must be a very difficult decision for a 5E3 amplifier customer, as changing out the board may change the amplifier sound that your customer fell in love with. It goes without saying, Rift will do a fantastic job. I'm glad it's not my decision. I look forward to which way it will go. Keep up the great work. Most technicians would pass on the stuff that's too hard. The whole idea is to retain the original sound of the amplifier, but just improve it. And it's the same with the Lazy J program that I've got going on. People love the sound of their Lazy Js. I love the sound of the Lazy J, but we just want them hum-free, quiet, and safe. So that's it. The ones that I've done already, all the custom feedback has been exceptional. It still sounds exactly like a J20, but without the hum and the hiss and the noise problems, etc., etc. So all that kind of stuff. And we'll do the same on that one. We will retain the sound and feel of his original amp. We'll just make it nice and quiet and hopefully play better as well. In fact, one J20 customer said he didn't realise how much of an improvement it would be over how the amp sounded originally. he likened it to having a, like an EP booster on, where you just, it's everything, you just get more of everything. Everything sounds better without changing the fundamental tone, which I thought was great feedback. So yeah, it's that's what we'll do with that 503 clone. We will retain all the bits he loves and get rid of all the bits he doesn't. Back to the train wreck. Yanev NOS Tubes says, what preamp tubes are you using? As far as I know, Ken Fisher used a vintage Mullard at V1. Not sure if it was the I61 or I63 or even the long plates. My choice is the I63. An Amperix Bugle Boy at V2 and a Philips Mini Watt at V3. No other designer ever went this far with tubes. Even vintage amps had the same brand at all positions. The whole idea of that build is to use modern stuff, or to prove that you can do it with modern stuff and see just how close we can get to the sound. It just so happens that I had that old Drake transformer and a customer donated those Mullard EL34s. So yeah, I mean, they're the exception to the rule. With the preamps, I'm just going to use known, good quality, new production stuff. Not going to faff around with any of that. That will be for the owner, whoever buys that amp, to decide what they want to do. They can do all the tube rolling and discover what they prefer. But apart from the Drake transformer and those old Mullards in the output stage, it's just going to have new production. You can go to the nth degree trying stuff out, but you can't be predictable with it for, repeatability. Very, very difficult, especially now that the new old stuff stock is all dried up, and so all the stuff you buy now, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. To find good stuff, you've got to pay big money, and even then, does it actually sound any better? Can your ears tell the difference? Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, it's all new production E12 stuff, as I said, and we'll see how close we get. And if we're miles away, we'll keep refining it. And if we are very, very close, I will be a very happy man indeed. Right, okay, so I've got the 1K5s out from the sockets. So I'm just going to put some new carbon comps in. And I've removed the old solder. I'm going to fire up Big Bertha and redo the chassis grounds here, and then I can move on to the rest of the thing. But we are making progress. This is a classic example, right, of the more you look, the worse it becomes, the more mistakes that you see. It's so funny. I mean, I've just spotted this cap here. I mean, the leg is coming out of the side of the cap there, look. I mean, just... So we'll replace that whilst we're in here. Whilst we're doing it. I just don't know anymore sometimes. People say, well, you shouldn't say bad things about other techs, but when the quality of the work is this poor and people have paid money for it, you kind of have to. You have to point this stuff out. That's the whole, to educate you guys of, what is an acceptable standard of work and what isn't. I think I'm going to go bang my head against the back wall for a bit. Anyway, cracking on. Okay, all of those repairs done to the Vibrolux. It is now been fired up on the bench. It's been up now it's been on for about 25 minutes. All the voltages are settled down. We're driving 4 ohms today, a 150 millivolt sine wave RMS into the front end of the amplifier, 1 kilohertz. The amp is currently biased around 45 milliamps of current per 6L6, excuse me. Puts us around 63-64%, so that's a a nice safe place to be. We'll start with the normal channel first. Tone controls on 0, bright switch off with advanced control, and as you can see on the screen, this is into 4 ohms, remember. We've got a lovely sine wave there. We'll bring it up to the point of clipping, which is about there, and we'll just back it down a smidge. Now Vibrolux reverbs are, if I remember, 35 watts. They're rated for 35 watts clean. Now 35 watts at 4 ohms is just under 12 volts RMS. So we're looking at this figure here. We've got 12.2, and if I mess around with it, we're just squaring off there at 12.5. Any more than that, we've definitely got squaring off. So at 12.5 into 4 ohms puts us at 39 watts. Nice and healthy. That's really good. That's really good indeed, and we're biased well within our safe zone. Okay, so that's this channel. Bring up the treble control, bass control, everything's working. Bright switch as well, that needs a good cleaning, as we expected. Let's try the vibrato channel. Tone controls at 0. Volume up, and we can get roughly the same output, but look at this really interesting spike at on the top of our sine wave. Now if I mess around with my tone controls, the treble does take that away, the bass takes it away almost, and it comes back. Reverb takes it away. Now if I disconnect the return, sorry, the reverb input, the black connector on the back panel, it disappears. So we're looking at the top of the sine wave there, reconnect it up. What is that? What is it? We unplugged, it's not there, plug it back in, it's there. I've never seen that before. That's a new one on me. So that's the send to the tank. Yep, that's correct. What if I disconnect the return? It's still there. But if I disconnect the centre of the tank, it disappears. What is that? What causes that? That's really interesting. Let's get a chopstick. Disconnect, disappears, bring it back in, and it's there. Wow. Okay. So what could we do? How could we test what's causing that? Is it a lead dress issue? If I move these wires around, can I get it to disappear? Nope. So it's not a lead dress problem. There's definitely an oscillation going on there. Very, very interesting. Let me just try a quick trick. If I grab a capacitor, a 470 picofarad, and we're just going to connect it across the anode to the cathode, and we'll see if anything changes. I've got to be super careful with this so I don't short anything out. Yes, disappears, look. So if I connect that cap across there, it disappears. So we need to add a snubber cap. Very cool, very interesting. Well, I'm going to solder that in place. And then I think, after a play test, we can call this particular amplifier and another one for Ollie on its complete. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching once again. As always, please give these videos a thumbs up. All of your comments and questions down below. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. If you're feeling super generous like these guys have, why not join the channel, buy a t-shirt, and I will catch you all at the next one. Not actually finished with Ollie's amp, are we? Completely forgotten about the noisy reverb. He did actually mention to me he thinks there's a problem with the cables, which we need to check out. The valve was microphonic as well, so again we need to look into all of those things. Now he did also say to me that the reverb is very difficult to dial into the perfect point. Normally with Fender black and silver panel reverbs, they are, you know, 2 isn't enough on the dial, 3 is too much, and anything after that is pure surf. That's kind of the way they're designed. But this one in particular, and I tested it out and I do agree with him, it's like a hair trigger. It's very, very tricky. Now, it should be a 100k potentiometer in there, a logarithmic, one audio taper pot. This is the one that was in it. You probably can't see what it says, but it's actually a linear pot that's in the amplifier. So we've swapped in, I've just swapped in a log pot for him. We'll try that out. And in the next video, we will get the completion of the Vibrolux. We will make sure all the other issues and things are sorted on it, and then that amp is good to go. Right, van crash update. I can't remember if I told you that I'd originally put a claim in and they were going to write the van off. Well, I cancelled the claim because I decided to keep it. So my excess is £400 on this van. It's a commercial policy, of course. So if we can fix it for less than 400 quid, then great, we're winning, right? Okay, so I've taken the front bumper off, taken the headlights out, and we get to fully assess the damage. It's not as bad as it actually looks, because it's all bolt-on parts, right? So what's happened is, obviously we've had the accident, it's pushed, this is the front crash bar here, and that's been pushed back into the radiator. Now the radiator mounts have all snapped down here. This one's okay, but this side of the radiator has been pushed back. The radiator itself got nicked slightly. I can bring this around to show you. So, but the actual core is fine and isn't leaking. So if we can find a way to fix the mounts, the radiator might go again. It might go again. But crucially, the lower mount is absolutely fine, it's untouched. But so we're going to need a new front crash bar. They're about 50 quid on eBay, a used one. Okay, no problem. This mounting structure here, this isn't structural, this is just plastic. There's a little bit of damage, but you know, tech screws and cable ties and stuff will all fix it. This is where the headlights go. This headlight, amazingly, is fine, but the one over on this side, the 2 mounts were cracked, and you can actually see a mount here as well. It's knackered, but it can all be fixed. So what we need is a new front crash structure along here, a new bumper, new set of side lights, one headlight, and then there's the trim piece with the Vauxhall badge along here. We've got a little bit of bashing to do and reshaping on the front bonnet, but again, if I can find a cheap bonnet, we'll just swap that in instead, and this van will go again. So I think I can do this for less than 400 quid, and we'll get, and the old Van Halen will keep going. There was a broken plug. There it is, this one here. Sorry, this sensor here, but it's only opened up, so you can't actually see what I'm pointing at. Sorry, bear with me. It's down here. So this is broken here. But we can glue that or epoxy that in place. That'll be fine. It was Solid State Solomon's fault. He said to me, we should fix this. And I think we shall. I think there's no reason why we shouldn't. There's no reason why we couldn't get this back on the road for less than 400 quid. Especially with used parts. So, yeah. Come around and show you from this side. But the rest of it is fine. It's not taken. Like I said, it looks worse than it actually is. The intercooler is fine. The intercooler's not damaged. It's just the radiator's broken off its mount and been pushed back. So either we try and fix the rad, or we just get another one. They're only about 50 quid, new. In fact, if you wait until, you know, there's a sale on, sometimes you get really good discounts on them. The alternator's fine. This fan's going to go again. It's absolutely going to go again. It doesn't need to be mint, it just needs to be functional. Oh, and I'm going to need a new number plate as well. Yesterday I tried to take off the front crush structure. It didn't work, so I've started cutting it with an angle grinder to get it off. There's 4 bolts each side, get those off. 2 16mm spanners are all you need. But I was trying to relieve the pressure out of it. I actually tried to use a ratchet strap to pull it straight, but amazingly it's a hefty beast. So yeah, but that's the damage on the van. It will go again, it will run, and I think we can do it on a budget.